Hey, this is Patrick from Anderson Design. We got our 22 Outback Wilderness up on the lift. We're going to be working on a few installs today. The first one we're going to be doing is the CKE Anti Wobble insert. That is a bushing that sits in between the factory transmission mount to prevent wobble in the drivetrain. All right, to give you an example of the wobble, now this is in an extreme angle with the suspension at full droop, so the CV joints aren't sitting exactly where they normally would, but you can watch the transmission and actually physically see it move as we rotate the tires. Nothing is going to be holding the transmission in place other than the motor mounts and the pitch mount, which is not designed to hold this much weight back here. So once that's supported, you can pull the 5 bolts here to the bottom of the transmission mount. And then after those are all out, you want to pull these 3 14 millimeters and these 3 14 millimeters over here. And then this bracket will slide out. Don't forget, you can also unbolt your heat shield too. Those are 12 millimeters.
Out, you should be able to pull your bracket out.
All right, so there's 2 12 millimeter bolts on each side. Once you got those out, then you have the bushing all the way out. So what the CKE anti-wobble insert does, it fills this void in here and prevents any movement or restricts movement of the transmission, creating that wobble. All right, so this is the CKE anti-wobble insert. What it does, it fills the void in this transmission mount, preventing movement in the drivetrain. So sometimes it's a little bit of a tight fit depending on if you went with the soft or the medium one. So sometimes WD-40 helps slide it in. Some guys use a vise and clamp it in and push it in, or use a rubber mallet or something to smack it in. You got your bushing in, now you can go to reinstall the transmission mount back to the transmission side. 4 12 millimeter nuts, 2 on each side. Each installation will vary a little bit depending on your model and your year. Heat shielding can be a little different. Sometimes some of them have less bolts to mount up, but for the most part, this is pretty much the same installation for all of the CKE inserts. When it comes to torque specs on these M10s, these three right here and the ones that are attaching to the transmission mount itself, all of these are M10s. Typically those are at 22 foot-pounds. That's pretty much going to relate to any 10 millimeter for the most part. When it comes to these little M8s, metric 8 being the thread pitch size, these will be closer to 14 foot-pounds. But truthfully, it's just holding on your heat shield, so you could probably just use a wrench, get them nice and tight. Rule of thumb is quarter turn before they break. All right, once you got your factory transmission mount and your transmission isolator installed with the new CKE anti-wobble insert, now that it's all installed, now we can see that there's much less movement in the drivetrain. Might be kind of hard to pick up in the video, but it definitely is moving a lot less. And all right, guys, we're all done with the install. If you guys have any questions about the CKE anti-wobble inserts, feel free to give us a call, 503-575-0034. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Oh, by the way, the new name of this guy is the Wildebeest.